In a small, quiet town, where rumors travel quickly and life seems to go on without too much disruption, Clara lived in a bubble of routine, tranquility, and secrets. It was a city where neighbors greeted each other politely, where children played on the cobbled streets, and where cafes were the center of morning discussions. But beneath this apparent peace, the city had its unsaid things, its discreet judgments, and its invisible shadows. The inhabitants observed, took a liking to some, and were suspicious of others. Clara, although young and cheerful in appearance, often felt that this tranquility hid implicit expectations and a constant pressure to conform to what society expected of her. At 28, Clara had everything anyone could want: a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, a steady job at a local bookstore, and a fiancé, Javier, whom she loved deeply and who seemed to be the anchor of her world. They had met when they were still teenagers, on a summer evening where everything seemed possible, where dreams were bigger than realities. Javier was her home base, her security, her ideal partner. But behind this idyllic picture, Clara carried a heavy burden, a secret that she had shared with no one, not even Javier. She was pregnant with twins. At first, the news had filled her with joy, a sweet and bright joy, like the light of a summer morning. But little by little, this glow had dissipated, drowned in the shadows of reality. Clara had always wanted to be a mother, but she had not imagined that this moment would come under such difficult circumstances. The pregnancy, although wonderful in itself, had disrupted an already fragile balance. The two children were a gift, but also a burden. Clara and Javier were not prepared for this responsibility. Their financial situation was unstable, their future uncertain. Javier worked part-time in a small car repair business, while Clara, although passionate about books, barely earned enough to support them. The constant stress of unpaid bills, the ever-increasing apartment rental, and dreams of a better life that seemed to fade away day by day had built up, until the idea of a radical solution began to take hold in her mind: abortion. It was not a decision she took lightly. She knew that if she chose this path, nothing would ever be the same. Such a choice, as necessary as it may seem to her, would take with it a part of her soul, a fragment of what she hoped to one day be. But in her heart, the uncertainty, the fear of not being able to give these children the life they deserved, pushed her to make an appointment at the clinic. The temporary relief of a life without this constant pressure seemed to be the only viable option.
A future without endless sacrifices, without judgmental locks, without impossible choices.
But every night, the weight of this decision tormented her, preventing her from sleeping, invading her mind with doubts. That Saturday morning, as she prepared to leave for the clinic, something inside her changed. The gray sky, heavy with clouds, seemed to reflect his mood. She quickly grabbed her coat and headed outside, her footsteps echoing on the neighborhood cobblestones. The Saturday morning market was bustling, as always, with stalls selling fresh vegetables, colorful flowers, and the shouts of vendors touting their products. But today, the agitation seemed distant, almost unreal. Clara walked in a sort of torpor, her mind confused by the decision to make. Then, passing near the entrance to the market, she saw something that immediately caught her eye: a small clairvoyant stall, different from the others. It was a simple red fabric tent, looking a little out of place among the fruit and vegetable stands, but it was this wooden sign that caught his attention: "Your future awaits you. Come and discover what it holds." These words, written by hand, almost seemed to beg her to come closer. Clara stopped abruptly. She had never believed in horoscopes, tarot cards, or clairvoyance, but today a strange presentiment pushed her to cross the threshold of this tent. The interior of the tent was dim, lit by scented candles which gave off a soft, warm light. The air was filled with the scent of jasmine and lavender, and peaceful music floated in the atmosphere, like a distant song. Clara stepped forward timidly, her eyes adjusting to the dim light. An old woman, draped in a dark veil, stood as she entered, and stared at her intensely, her icy blue gaze piercing Clara's soul. His wrinkled hands held a crystal ball, but it was his gaze, unfathomably deep, that troubled her. "I knew you would come," the clairvoyant said in a calm but firm voice, as if she had seen Clara before she even entered. It was not a simple remark, but a certainty, a truth stated with such assurance that Clara was struck by it. She immediately felt unsettled, as if something in the air of that tent touched her soul in a way she couldn't explain. Her thoughts became muddled, and for a moment, she hesitated on the veracity of what she had just experienced.
Clara, a little hesitant, sat down opposite the clairvoyant, her head full of doubts and confusion.
She was not a great believer in the divinatory arts, nor in predictions based on mystical symbols. She had always preferred to trust what she could see, touch, understand logically. But something in this old woman attracted her, something indescribable that made her stay there, listening, despite herself. Maybe it was the soft warmth of the candlelight, or maybe it was the almost eerie calm that emanated from the room. There was something deeply calming, as if the clairvoyant was a caring presence ready to offer her answers she desperately sought, even without knowing it. "Why are you afraid?" the seer asked, her piercing gaze scanning Clara before she could even respond. The question, simple but penetrating, made Clara tremble in her shoes. How did this old woman know? Was it just a stroke of luck, an intuition? Or was there something more? The clairvoyant, without waiting for a response, continued, in a fluid and calm, almost melodious voice. "You are at a crossroads where the future seems vague, uncertain. Fear invades you, it prevents you from seeing what is in front of you. But I will show you a truth that you ignore." Clara felt caught in an inner whirlwind. Part of her wanted to run, to get up and get out of this tent, but another, deeper part, felt a strange pull, as if her feet were rooted to the ground. Why did she feel this irrepressible need to listen to this stranger, to pay attention to her words? She forced herself to breathe slowly to calm the agitation in her mind. The clairvoyant, as if sensing Clara's indecision, took a deep breath. Her slender hands, marked by time, rested gently on the crystal ball, making it shine in the candlelight. A silence settled in the tent, heavy and almost sacred. Clara watched, captivated, as if the world around her was gradually dissipating, leaving only this old woman and the mystery she seemed to want to decipher for her. "I see 2 lives ahead of you," she said finally, in a deep and solemn voice. "But these are not lives that have yet been lived. They are like shadows in your future, possibilities.
And you stand before a choice."
She paused, her intense blue eyes staring at Clara as if trying to read the depths of her soul. "And this choice, it's not just a question of deciding between yes and no. No. This choice, Clara, is bigger. It could well shape not only your future, but that of many others. It could open or close doors that you haven't even seen yet." Clara was both fascinated and terrified. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly.
Incomprehension gripped her.
What did she mean by all this? Lives that had not yet been lived. A choice that seemed much bigger than she had envisioned? The clairvoyant smiled mysteriously, an almost sad but gentle smile, and slowly held out a tarot card that she had taken care to shuffle. Clara looked at her in astonishment. The card showed a pregnant woman, surrounded by sparkling stars and divine light, a protective aura surrounding her. The scene depicted on the card seemed unreal, like a dream taking shape before her. "It's not an accident, Clara," said the clairvoyant with unwavering gentleness. "You carry within you a great destiny. These twins, these 2 lives growing within you, they are not there by chance. Their arrival will disrupt not only your life, but that of many others. They are a key, a door to something greater. But if you choose to remove them before their birth, you risk closing this door forever, denying you access to a new world." Clara felt a shock, a wave of contradictory emotions that overwhelmed her. His thoughts were drowned by the heaviness of this revelation. "But I can't keep them.
I'm not ready."
The words almost escaped him on their own, filled with fear and doubt. Her legs trembled beneath her, her hands grew sweaty, and a deep anguish crept into her mind. The clairvoyant, with infinite patience, placed a reassuring hand on his, a calm gesture but imbued with wisdom. "Life doesn't wait until you're ready. It finds its way whether you're ready or not. What I'm offering you, Clara, is not an easy choice. But I invite you to look beyond your own comfort and your fears. If you choose to keep these children, You will see your life transformed. Yes, there will be challenges. There will be nights of uncertainty, days of struggle. But there will also be blessings that I can't even imagine. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, her hands trembling. The clairvoyant's words resonated in his heart like a distant echo, but their weight was immense. She relives her life with Javier, their shared moments, their laughter, their common projects. She thought of the uncertain future, of the fear of failing, but also of the innocence of these two unborn lives. They were still so fragile, so dependent on her. But something inside her was starting to change, to wake up. These children, these twins, were perhaps much more than just a responsibility. They were a promise, a chance, a possibility that she had not yet understood. She took a deep breath, trying to free herself from the grip of her confused thoughts. The clairvoyant, still silent, seemed to wait, patient and caring, as if she knew that Clara needed this time to face her own fears. "You are not alone on this journey," the clairvoyant said, her voice calm and composed, as if she had heard the tumults in Clara's mind. "You will find strength through the love and wisdom that surrounds you. But know this, if you choose this path, you will be guided. The world around you will change, but only if you make this choice." These words echoed in Clara's mind, heavy with meaning and uncertain promise. She felt, deep inside her, a strange warmth, as if the universe was sending her a sign that she could not ignore. But at the same time, fear crept into his heart. Making this choice meant detaching yourself from your old certainties, from your naive dreams of a simple life without upheaval. She had to accept the unknown, take a colossal risk. And yet, something deep in her soul told her that this path was the one that would lead her towards transformation, towards something greater than she had imagined. The clairvoyant, while staring at her with her intense blue eyes, seemed to be waiting for a response, but Clara did not have one. She could only accept the heavy truth of what she had just heard, the implicit promise that she would not be alone on this journey, even though, in that moment, everything seemed so frightening, so uncertain. "Choose wisely, Clara. You have the power to shape your future. But remember, nothing is ever easy. This journey will be a test, but also an awakening." Clara stood up slowly, her mind still foggy, as if a lingering mist encompassed her thoughts. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion, before leaving the tent. Every step she took to get out seemed to weigh a ton, but at the same time, something inside her seemed to have changed. The decision was not yet made, but she knew that the path before her would no longer be the same. The doubt remained, but the uncertainty of the future no longer had the same hold on her. The following days were marked by long inner reflection, sleepless nights, where Clara found herself facing herself, in the silence of her apartment. She spoke with Javier, searching for answers, sharing her doubts and fears. Their conversation was long and full of thrills of emotion. They talked about their future, what it would mean to welcome these twins, their dreams as a couple, their expectations from life. Javier was there, his unwavering love in his eyes, but fear was written there too. "I don't know if we're ready," he said, looking deeply at her, "but I know we'll be there together, no matter what the future holds." Clara felt the truth of his words sink into her. She knew he was right. She wasn't ready, and maybe she never would be, but she couldn't run anymore. The twins were not only a part of her, but also a part of their shared history. They carried the traces of their love, their dreams and their hopes, and she could not ignore them. They were already there, in her belly, and choosing to let them go meant denying a part of herself. They realized they couldn't just run away from responsibility, run away from challenges. The decision was not easy, but it was necessary. It was their birth, their growth, their sacrifices to make together. From that moment on, they were ready to face whatever life threw at them, even the unknown. "We're going to get there, Clara. We're going to love them as we should, no matter the obstacles," Javier assured her, his voice full of conviction. Finally, Clara made her decision. She chooses to keep the children. She would choose to give them a chance at life, to nourish them with the love and protection she could offer them. She would let them see the world, with their own eyes, even if she didn't know what the future held. It was a difficult choice, a promise made not only to these lives growing inside her, but also to herself, to face her fears, to transcend herself. Something deep within her had awakened, a call her heart could not ignore, an echo of the world and her destiny. She knew there was no going back. A few months later, Clara and Javier stood together in a hospital room. The wait was intense, their hands intertwined, pressed against each other, their breath suspended.
Love, anguish, hope, everything mixed together.
The hours seemed like days, and each contraction, each moment of pain, brought them a little closer to the decisive moment. But they were no longer alone. They were together, united, ready to welcome what they had created together. When the twins finally arrived, Clara knew, in her heart and in her gut, that this decision had been the right one. The pain of childbirth dissipated in an instant by the pure joy she felt seeing their little faces. They were there, real, alive, and they were the fruit of his choice, of his love, of his strength. She was not alone. The twins would grow up, and with them, Clara and Javier would learn to navigate this complex world. But more importantly, Clara knew that she had chosen to follow the path that, although difficult, would open the doors to a life full of meaning and new opportunities. The challenges would be many, but now they had a common goal: their family. The clairvoyant had been right, perhaps. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that transform us, Clara thought as she gently rocked one of her children in her arms. They force us to embrace our true destiny, to free ourselves from the chains of uncertainty. And in this choice, Clara had found a strength she didn't know she had. She would never be the same again.